What's up guys, it's Slav here, and today I want to tell you what you can afford for $400,000 in Calgary. Now to start off with, of course, your very first option is to head down to the Calgary Stampede and buy about 40,000 orders of the mini donuts, which would be a bit of a slow day for a typical Calgarian like me. But if you want to put your money into something a little bit more secure, we might be looking at real estate. $400,000 can actually give you a pretty good range to get into whatever you want. Now, of course, we're not going to be looking at top of the line homes or anything like that, but we do have access to all of the options. We can do single family home, duplex, townhome, or apartment condo. The number one favorite property for people in Calgary, of course, is the single family home. You'll notice that if you come to Calgary, the majority of the homes you see are single family homes. They're not the only ones by any means, but they're definitely the most popular. So what does $400,000 get you if you're looking for a single family home in Calgary? You're going to have a few different options. You could go into the deeper suburbs, whether it be to the north or to the south, and get something relatively new. Or you can go closer to city center and get something a little bit older that might need some renovations. We're not going to be able to go right into city center unless we're looking for a tear down or something that is pretty much in need of a tear down. If we're heading to the west part of Calgary, we're also not going to be finding many options. The typical price point for Calgary in the west for a single family home is going to be above $500,000 or $600,000. So that area is pretty much out. What we are left with though for newer homes is the very far north and the very far south. And a lot of people really enjoy those areas. So you will have some great options. Now, primarily when we're looking at the $400,000 range, we're looking at single family houses that do not have front attached garages. So a front attached garage a lot of the times can be referred to as a move-up home, whereas a single family home with a detached garage or no garage at all is usually called a starter home or a laned home. So assuming we want to buy a newer house in Calgary, we are going to be looking at those laned homes, and on average at this price point, we're going to be getting about 1,500 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and most likely we're not going to get both a garage and a basement that's finished. We might get a garage in some instances and we might get a finished basement in some instances as well, but a lot of the time we're just getting the home at that price point and we may have to add those things on in the future. The nice thing is that right now we do have brand new builds that also fall into this price point. These are going to be neighborhoods that are still being developed. We're talking about Ambleton in the north, Evanston. We could also be looking at something like Mahogany in the south or maybe Walden in the south. There will be quite a few different layout options for these kinds of homes. One of the things that's a little bit tougher to get in this price point is a bonus room. So we will typically see 3 bedrooms upstairs, but we're not going to get that additional bonus room that you can use for family gatherings or just a little area for the kids. If we're looking at something a little bit older, we're going to be looking closer to 1,200 square feet. And when I say older, I mean 1999 and down. The reason that we're typically looking at a smaller square footage, closer to 1,200 or 1,300 square feet, is because a lot of the homes that were built before those days were bungalows, bi-levels, 4-level splits, and they just didn't lend themselves to as much of a square footage as a 2-story. Most of the homes that are being built in Calgary after the year 2000 are 2 stories. So people like to get exercise a lot more by going up and down the stairs apparently. So let's say we are looking at something a little bit older. That's going to be around the $400,000 mark. We're going to be a bit closer to city center. We're not going to hit city center, but we're going to be in older communities like Cedar Brae, Acadia, Ranchlands to the north. We could be looking at something in the northeast, maybe around Whitehorn or something like that. These are homes that sometimes will need renovations, and they might need cosmetic renovations, or they might even need big maintenance items like the roof to be replaced or the furnace, hot water tank, plumbing, you name it. The nice thing is that when we are looking at older homes, a lot of them will have garages and a good chunk of them will have finished basements. Maybe not both at this price point, but we are going to be seeing those things that have been done in those homes. The only downside, of course, is if the basement is 60 years old, you might prefer to just have an empty space that you can put in a new basement. So as you can see, we will have a good number of options in Calgary at around the $400K mark for single family homes. So what if we want to get a duplex? That's one other option that we have that's very similar to a single family home, but it shares one wall with another neighbor. What I like about duplexes is we're getting something that's a little bit lower price because we're sharing a wall with another neighbor. We're not getting quite as much land. And a lot of the time, the homes that are selling around the 400K mark that are duplexes, they're going to have some nicer finishes. And a lot of them are built after the year 2000. Again, we're going to have about 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. We may or may not have a garage or a finished basement, but our finishes might be a little bit higher end because we do have a bit more budget to play around with. And most of these homes are going to be found either in the deep north or in the deep southeast. We'll find a few duplexes scattered around inner city at this price point. A lot of them are going to need quite a bit of renovation though. Okay, so you've decided, hey, I don't want a house, I don't want a duplex. So what about townhomes? If we're looking at city center, we will actually see a decent number of townhomes around the $400,000 mark. Some of these are going to be a bit older, but the majority are built in the 1990s or newer. And we actually have quite a few ones that are built in the recent years, so they really don't need a whole lot of work. There we're looking closer to about 1,250, maybe 1,300 square feet. A lot of the time we're going to be getting 2 bedrooms. Some of them we will get the 3 bedrooms, but they're going to be a little bit smaller, and we should be getting the 3 bathrooms as well. And what I like about these homes is that if we want to live inner city, but we don't want to move into a condo apartment, that's going to be the next best thing because we're not going to be finding a single family house in the city center at this price point. And finally, if we're looking for an apartment style condo at around the 400K mark, predominantly we're going to be looking in city center. If we go into the suburbs, we won't find a lot there just because the price points there aren't really that desirable for apartment condos. But if we go into the city center, we should be looking at something that's newer, so built after the year 2000. We're going to be looking at about 2 beds, 2 baths, and about 850 square feet. There will be some exceptions. Some of the higher end stuff will have a lower square footage, nicer finishes, and a nicer building. And some of the older properties might have a greater square footage, maybe as much as 1,000 square feet, but we're going to be getting a bit of a more dated interior. So as you can see, you could spend your money on something crazy like the donuts at Stampede, or you could invest into something meaningful like the Calgary real estate market. And the reality is at $400,000, we have options in most segments of the Calgary market, and we will be able to find you something that will fit your needs. Are there any particular price points that you want to see me talk about? If you do, leave a comment below. I'll be sure to make another video about the various different price points that people are curious about. Realistically, in Calgary, we could be looking at anything from about 150 all the way up to 6 million. And as always, if you need any real estate advice or have any questions, give me a shout. My information's down below.